Hi, welcome back to Therapy Designs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kelly, and this channel is all about teaching you how to create print-on-demand designs using Canva. So if that is something that you're interested in, please do stick around. So in today's video, I had somebody asking me about greeting cards and how you would go about making those. I've also had people ask in the past how I knew what size to make what products. Products will vary in size, obviously, in dimensions, and even the same general product will vary from platform to platform. So in terms of greeting cards, the two places that I would make greeting cards myself would be either using Printful, and then I could have that integrated with Etsy or with Amazon Seller Central and sell them that way. Or again, Redbubble does make greeting cards, and that makes it pretty easy as well. So any of those would be good ways that you could make greeting cards. If I was going to use Printful, for example, they will give me some templates. And so again, I've had people ask about how you get the templates for different products. So right now I am on my Printful page here on my dashboard, and you can see on the left-hand side, we've got all of our tabs. If I come down to where it says product catalog, now that's at the bottom there. If I click product catalog, I can go ahead and look at any of the products I like. And so from here, I can scroll down. If I'm looking for greeting cards specifically, that is in home and living. So I can click there and I can scroll down some more and sort of find what it is that I'm looking for. So scrolling, stationery, here we go. I can click greeting cards down here, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so here is our custom greeting card. Now it comes in a few different sizes, as you can see. So depending on what size you want to sell it on, you may need to make different, different variations. Here it's only giving me the option right now of 4 inches by 6 inches, but you see they're also, at least in planning, to have a 5x7 and a 5.83 by 8.27 if you want a really big card. But let's say we're just wanting to design for the 4x6, right? You could always just go ahead and design in inches and design 4x6 instead of doing pixels. That's one way to go about doing that, which is what I would do if I was creating for like Amazon, KDP, whenever I'm doing KDP, I do inches instead of pixels, but everything else I'm typically doing pixels. But you could, of course, go ahead and have yours sized by inches. You could also just kind of use pixels, but use the same dimensions. So right now, it's sort of a 2/3, right? So the width is, 2/3 of the height. And so what I could do is, to make it fit in Canva would be something like 2000 by 3000 pixels, and then that would give me the same overall dimensions. And so that's one way that I might go ahead and do that. If I'm wanting to look for an actual template, I can just start scrolling down. Now it will give you different features down here, what material it's made out of, the different sizes, decoration techniques. I can go ahead and put C file guidelines. That is something I can click on here. It will bring me down. Again, it's showing me the different sizes, and over to the right it says print file template. So here is where I would get my templates. Now this is the same for all the products, so I can do this for all products. Is scroll down until I get to this section. I can find the print file template and I can download it. And so I'll click download. It will download it, and then right now it's downloading it as a zip file because there's obviously different sizes. I would have to open that and then save each file to my downloads, and once I have that, I can then upload it into Canva. And so that is how I get my dimensions for everything. And so that is it for cards here. Really quickly, I could show you guys phone cases too, because I did have somebody ask about phone cases, and so that's up in accessories. And I do the same thing with phone cases. So I'm in my accessories section, and I can scroll down to where it says phone cases. I can click that. Custom phone cases. I do a lot of iPhone cases here, so I can again click on that. Now you can see there's a lot of different iPhones, and they all come in different sizes, which is why it's hard to be exact with the cases. And they all have different cutouts too. So again, if you were to use a photo, the cutouts could take off part of your photo depending on which case, somebody is buying for their phone. So you really have to design either in, like this, where it's just a general pattern or, general design, where it doesn't matter what the cutout is, or if you're going to have a photo, you need to make sure that all the elements of your photo that are important are, not in the cutout section, and not around the edges, because again, there's going to be slightly different dimensions per phone case. But anyways, as I'm scrolling down here, I can do the same thing. It's going to give me all the details, available mock-ups, and then I can come down here where it says description, shipping, file guidelines. If I go to file guidelines, it is going to go ahead and just give me a general file size. And so it is saying to, generally design on 2.93 inches by 6.1 inches for everything. And there is, again, a file template that I can download. And so I can download that to go ahead and get sort of a frame for my phone cases. And so that's how I do that. So now I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Canva. I'm going to go ahead and make a card really quick using a design that we've made in a prior video. So I'm just going to jump over to Canva, and right now I have a page pulled up, and it is for a greeting card. So right now it is 4 inches by 6 inches, or in terms of pixels, I have it as 2000 pixels by 3000 pixels. And so that is how I get these dimensions right here. And then this is just the mock-up that I pulled just now from Printful. All I did was go over to my uploads. I hit upload files and I uploaded it from my downloads. And so I had a couple here that I had uploaded. And so that's it, and you can just go ahead and make sure it lines up. When we're looking at this, you just want to make sure that all of the important elements are within the red dotted area, but this isn't all over print, and it will print with bleed. So if you're doing like a background, you want to make sure it goes all the way to the edge. You just want to make sure that your text and any super important elements stays within the red area. So whenever we are doing all over print, like for a greeting card, for example, it's always cool to go ahead and put a background on there. So, not too many people want just a plain white card with a graphic, or a plain white card with some text. I mean, they want it to have a cool look if you're going to do all over prints. Another thing to consider with greeting cards is, you can go to any grocery store or any CVS and get a greeting card. And a lot of the standard cards, there's, literally hundreds, thousands of cards out there. So why would somebody want to buy your greeting card off of a print-on-demand website? Well, you have to make a greeting card that is something that is a little bit more of a sub-niche, something that's a little bit more specialized that you're not going to get in a typical drugstore. So for example, the design that we just made in the last video said Bionic Hip Club. So you might make a sort of get well soon kind of card, but specific for somebody with a hip replacement, or specific with somebody who's had a knee replacement or an ACL surgery, or specific for somebody who's had whatever they've had. So you want to be very specific in your greeting cards. That's how you're going to get them to sell, because a generic greeting card on a print-on-demand website probably wouldn't sell anymore, and then you could just go to the grocery store and get another generic card. So you do need to be pretty specific. But if you were trying to get somebody a card for a hip replacement, the grocery store usually doesn't have one of those. So if you wanted to, do a search online for greeting cards or get well soon cards for somebody who's had a hip replacement, you could, get yourself into that niche by doing something very specific. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put a background on here. Now I could just do, again, solid backgrounds, and I could put my design over it, and that's that. But you're doing it all over print, you might as well make it fun. I can use any background I want, so it doesn't have to be solid. I could come up here under elements, and I could do any kind of, I could do futuristic background, or I could just do backgrounds and see what comes up. There's all sorts of techie backgrounds here and graphics. I could use photos, and you could just sort of see how there's lots of different ones that could come up. So like here's one, for example, it's just got some like stars in it. I could make it vertical or I could make it horizontal, doesn't matter because it's an all over print. So I would pull it out so that I would get the bleed from edge to edge. And so I could do something like that, for example. Let's move it up just a little bit so it's covering the whole thing. Then when I click out of it, this now becomes my backdrop here. And so you can come up with ways to give a cool look to the background, because this is printing all over. It's not like putting it on a shirt. You get to pick what your background looks like. And so you can pick some really fun backgrounds. Another thing to consider is on Redbubble, you're only allowed to do the cover. So if you're printing a card on Redbubble, you're literally just picking the cover image. But if you're doing it on Printful, you get to pick the front, the back, and the interior. You can have a blank interior because a lot of people like to write their own stuff. But if you want to go the more Hallmarky sort of way, you can write your own interior too. But, just things to consider. So if I'm putting this on the front of the card, maybe I want it to also be the back of the card. So I might want to save, one image that's just blank, maybe for the back of the card, and then also have the same background image on the front, but with my graphic. And then on the inside, you can decide whether you want the inside to be plain white or whether you want the inside to have some sort of stylistic print too, because again, you can print all over. And so go ahead, pick a fun background, think about it, what's going to look best for your design. For the one that we made the other day, black is going to look pretty good because I did optimize it for black. So a really nice dark background like this is going to look good. But again, I can do something a little bit fun with it. And some of these lights or some of these techno looking things look kind of cool. This one has the black on the inside, but it's going to give it, a little bit of that techno-y look. If I was to do sort of something like that with the hips in the middle, I could do that. And so you can sort of play with it. Again, I'm going to show you, I'm just going to pull up the design that we just made. I have it saved in my uploads, and that was the Bionic Hip Club that I just made last time. And so you can see if I pull this out, there you go, I can put it on the card. Now, right now, it doesn't fit the card very well because the card is much more vertical than the shirt was, much more square in terms of dimensions. No problem. I can move this around, or I can add more text, or I can, do anything I want. If, for example, all I wanted to do was space the text out, one thing I could do would be to Control D, so I've duplicated my image, and then I could crop everything out on my duplicate except the text. I could bring the text up, and now I can take this one and I can crop down and crop the text out. And so that is one way that I could, move the Bionic up and do it like that. I can do the same thing down here for Hip Club if I wanted to. So I could, again, Control D. I could get rid of Hip Club on that one, get rid of the hips here, and so now I have just totally separated my elements. So now I have the text separate from the graphic, and it was all already done. I just, moved it around. And so from there I can, resize however I want, center or not centered. I could put Hip Club down here. I could put it wherever I wanted. I could put welcome to, so there's a lot of fun ways I could go with this. I want to bring this up a little bit. But you can see this is how we would go about making sort of a greeting card. And if I wanted this to pop, let's say, I could always take this now and go ahead, edit image, and I could put shadows on it, or I could put a glow on it. So let's say I wanted to put a little drop shadow on it. And because it's all over print, I can use transparency. Transparency won't look good on a shirt, but on an all over print, you could definitely use transparency and offset and everything else. So I could do something like that and really make it look like it's popping. So now Hip Club looks like it's popping. I can do the same thing up here with Bionic if I want to, and just, throw a drop shadow on it. And again, I can bring the blur up, I can bring the transparency up. I can kind of do that however I want. Give it a sec. And there, so now my text looks like it's popping. Again, I could do the same thing with the graphic if I wanted to. So you could see how I could sort of go with that. So let's say this is the front of my card. So let's just go ahead and title this. I'm going to title this Front Bionic Hip Club. And so, there we go. I like the way that that looks. And so I could save it right there. and just download as is. I'm still going to leave it as a PNG, but sometimes if we're printing like for KDP, for example, you might want to do a PDF print and say that that's going to print better. So you can do it either way. So, I mean, PNG is obviously what I would use for shirts. PDF print is good for books, and it might be good also for cards, but I'm going to leave it as a PNG. Oops, I lost it. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a PNG. I'm not going to want a transparent background because for this, I want the background. That's part of the card. So I'm just going to go ahead and download it. And so that's easy peasy. Now I could have also added some text like welcome to the Bionic Hip Club might have looked cool on here. So you could always add some more text. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to duplicate this page. So if I come up to the top, you can see there's some little selections. The little one that says plus is duplicate. So now I've made a duplicate page where I could, if I wanted to, you know, create just the back of the card. So for just the back of the card, I might want to do something just ever so slightly different. I can lose the wording entirely if I wanted to. But I'm going to do something like this. And that is going to be, I might even get rid of that. There we go. And that's just going to be on the back of my card. So now I can go ahead, title this back. Again, I can download it. And for this, I just want to download page 2, so I no longer need page 1. I can hit download. And so now I have the front and the back of a card, right? And so now I can keep these dimensions more or less, right? And give it a sec. I can go ahead and do the interior. Now the interior, I can just go ahead, add page. It's going to keep the same dimensions, but I've lost the background. Your interior, you probably want to be white or something light because you want people to be able to write on it, right? So the inside of cards, if they want to write to or whatnot, this is where you would write it. You could leave it blank and just have 2 blank pages, and that's perfectly fine. Or if you wanted to go ahead and put like interior, this would be like interior right. Let's say I could pull up a text box and say, you know, you're bionic, or welcome to the Bionic Hip Club, or, you know, good luck with your hip replacement, or something like that. Or how about, you can't be replaced, but your hips can. Get well soon, right? Get well soon, right? And so you could put text in there, and again, I could pick whatever text that I want. Right now I have that on capital, but I could go again with one of the ones that I'd used before, one of the kind of futuristic looking ones. Here we go. You can't be, there we go. There we go. It says, you can't be replaced, but your hips can. Get well soon. You know, and that's just sort of funny. Again, that's just one of the fonts that I had used before that was sort of futuristic. I could go back and do futuristic or sci-fi again and see if I could come up with something a little bit better. I do like that. You can't be replaced, but here we go. Your hips can. Get well soon. And then I can, something like that. So I can put some, you know, text inside of the card. If I'm going to do that, I kind of want a little bit of a background to the card, but I still want it to be light. So maybe I go back up to some of these futuristic elements. Something like this might look cool. And I could do this. And again, pull it out, send to back. I could make it a lot lighter. I could bring the brightness, way down, just so that I get the littlest bit of sort of like lines in there, right? So, and I can make it saturated or not saturated. Nice and bright, just like that. And so that's giving me just a little bit of a futuristic look. If I was going to do that, I would want to do it again on the inside left page. And so lots of fun ways you can go with this. Here's another one that's very similar, only it doesn't have the blue, but it's still giving that sort of look. So maybe, you know, I could go with a light blue here. I could do all sorts of just different fun techno-y insides. I like the way this looks. It's easy enough. So I can, again, go ahead, duplicate it, get rid of that. So this could just be the inside left, and this could be inside right. And so I could put inside and then right. Oops, I've got this on all caps, so 1 sec. Inside right. Now I'm on page 3. I can just go ahead, download. For this one, I just want page 3. Done. There we go. Give it a sec. And again, then I can come down here, and this is inside left. In Bionic Hip Club, and I can download just page 4. Oops. Just page 4. And there we go. So now I've kind of designed an entire card. So I have a front, an inside, and a back of the card. Again, you wouldn't need to do this for Redbubble, but if you were making it for Printful and you wanted to do a whole card front to back, that's how you could go ahead and do it. Redbubble, you're just going to make the front of the card. So if I was doing it for Redbubble, I would really only need to worry about this front part. But if I'm doing it for, you know, Printful or something like that, where I'm doing the whole card, I would need, you know, literally all 4 sides. And so I've got all 4 sides saved. So now I can jump back over if I want to, I'm back on Printful, and I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to go back to my dashboard. And from here, I'm just going to go ahead and show you real quick. I'm going to make this, and so I'm just going to do, let's go with product templates. So I'm just going to make a template here. And so create product templates, and I'm going to go ahead and make myself a card. So I can click home and living. I'm going to scroll down to greeting cards, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick a greeting card. Okay, so here we have it. If I go to product, I do want it to be vertical. Right now it's showing all of the sizes, and you'd have to adjust each one individually. Right now I can just select 4x6 if I want to, and I can drop design here. So right now we're looking at the front of the card. So I now have to upload the front of the card, and so it'll say upload file, and it'll let me upload it. I'll give it a second. I'm gonna have to upload all 4 pages. There it is, and so I can apply, and there you go, front. So you want to make sure it's covering the entire front. If if it's not, you can always take this, and drag it out to make sure it's covering the entire front. So if it's like this, that's going to be a problem. So you really need to make sure it goes edge to edge, because you're going to want it to kind of bleed out edge to edge. And so that looks pretty cool right there, maybe a little bigger. And make sure all of your important stuff is within that dotted area. So the outside is just sort of bleed, but make sure all of your important elements are inside. And so that's the front of the card. Inside 1, that is going to be inside left. And so for that, my inside left, I'm going to open. And that was just sort of that light honeycomb sort of style. So I can apply that there. And again, it's going to go just like that. Pretty simple. Inside left. I can now go inside right, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to upload new file, upload my inside right. This is the one that had my text on it. There we go. I can hit apply. Again, I could have done different things with the text, different colors and all of that. Get rid of that. And so that is now the inside of my card. You can see right there. And then I can go to the back. And then last one, I'm going to upload the back of my card. So Bionic Hip back. There we go, and apply. And so that's the back of the card. It's pretty simple, so there's not much to it right there. So now I've got all 4 sides. I can go ahead and go to mockup view, and it should give me a mock-up of my card. Make sure everything looks right. So as it shows it open right here. Now it is putting a little barcode here, so that might be an issue. So I might want to redesign the back and move this text up. I might even make it a little bit smaller or put it over to the right because I don't like that barcode right there. So we might go ahead and do that, and I can do that really quick. But everything else looks good. So the front of the card looks good. I like the way that the front and the back, the backgrounds go together, right? And then we can see if we open the card, again, I don't necessarily like the way the honeycomb is not lining up here. So to make sure it lines up, you might want to, you can double check your insides to make sure that those honeycombs actually line up so it looks like one united thing. So we could definitely do it that way. But otherwise, I like the overall look of this. And so that is the way that the overall look of the card would go. So if we want to play with it now, we can go right back over to Canva. I left all of the pages up so that they could be easy, to work with. So let's go ahead. I'm going to bring this bionic way down, move it to the right. Same thing with the hip. I'm going to bring hips way down. I'm going to move it to the right. And maybe I want it to just sort of be back right. So the fold will be here. There'll be a little barcode here. And it's just going to say Bionic Hip Club, and it's going to be down in the right corner. And so something like that looks kind of cool. And then the honeycombs. So if I wanted the honeycombs to line up, so what I don't have is a seamless background. Now I could do a seamless background. This one I just picked any background I wanted to, but let's say I wanted this to actually look seamless. I could either pick something more like this, divide it in the middle, and then I could do it that way since this pattern isn't quite working for me. Let's see. I could do a pattern that's a little bit easier to line up. So something like this might be a little easier to line up. Unfortunately, something like this, if I made it top to bottom, would be a little easier, I think, to line up. Maybe not. It would if I went straight into the middle and said that, boom, that's the midline right there of my design. I could put it there. How does that look? You can't be replaced, but your hips can. Get well soon, and I could do, again, same thing. Top to bottom would make sure it's the same size. If I go top to bottom, make sure that I have the whole thing the right height. There it goes, top to bottom. And then move this over. Perfect. So now this should line up perfectly with the one above it. Okay, so if I do that, this should line up a lot better. If I wanted to now, I could take this. Maybe I want to make it more of that really dark blue color instead of black. Get well soon. Maybe I want to do something like this just to make it a little bit bigger. Oops. There we go. Now I've got it nice and big. It's taking up a good amount of the screen now. Perfect. There we go. Nice. Okay. So let's go ahead and try this again and see if I like the way it looks now any better. So I'm going to do the front, I'm going to leave alone because I didn't change anything there. So let's go ahead and start with the inside left just because that's what I have labeled. So inside left, is going to be my last page, is the inside left. And so I can, oops, download that, inside left. Sorry, this video is taking a little longer than I wanted to, just because I wanted to troubleshoot and make sure I had a good, a good look to it. So I have inside left. Let's make inside right. Download. Again, I just want inside right this time. And then I'm just going to do the back. And we're just going to do the back really quick. And download. And so this is why I always leave, I always leave everything alone, and I always leave it up on the front, so that it's just, it's easy to get to, it's easy to change if I need to, and then I can just hop back and forth. It makes it that much easier. So I'm going to go ahead, go back. I'm going to hit back, and I'm going to go back. Oops. And I'm going to do this again. So let's again go to home and living. Let's go to our, oops, where did I lose it? Metal print, posters, wall art, stationery, greeting card. Sorry, I lost my spot. Greeting card again. I'm sticking with vertical at the moment. I'm just going to stick with my 4x6. I'm going to upload some new files here. So I'm going to upload all 3 of the new ones that I just made, and we'll see if it looks any better. And I already think it's going to. I'm already pretty happy with the idea. And so sometimes you might need to make more than one version. That is inside right. Inside left. Perfect. Okay, so these should line up pretty well. So let's just go ahead. We'll apply the front one again, and it should automatically make it fill the screen, so I shouldn't have to do anything. And then I'm going to go to inside left, and I'm going to hit apply since I've already downloaded it, and that looks good. Then I'm going to go inside right. Here we go. Here's my new inside right. And that fits well, nice and big. And then, whoops, one more back. And I'm going to go with the new back. And we can see right here that nothing is getting cut off. This is no longer hitting it, so that looks pretty cool. Let's try the mock-up view now, see if it looks better. I'm pretty confident it will this time. Okay. So again, here's my front and back. That looks pretty good. I already liked the background how it was anyways, but now this is no longer cutting that off. So I like the way that looks overall. I then have the inside of my card, and it lines up a lot better. It's not perfect, but it definitely looks better than the honeycombs did in terms of how it's lining up. I like the way I put the words this time. It takes up a lot more of the space. You want it to be nice and big and easy to read. It says you can't be replaced, but your hips can. Get well soon. And yes, people can still write on it, so it's still got a light enough background that you could write on it. And so I think that that looks pretty cool. There are your different mock-up views of your card. Okay, so I like it. I can hit continue. And then I can go ahead and title this Bionic Hips. Now, oops, Bionic Hip Club. Hip Club, hip replacement, hip replacement greeting card. Get well's card, hip replacements, get well greeting card, something like that. Okay, 4x6, here we go, and it's just saving it. And so that is how I would go ahead and make a greeting card. So sorry for the long video, but there you go. I wanted to show you, the whole card front and back and how you would go ahead and do that. And so you guys can get as creative as you want. Just remember, you want your cards to be very specific. You want them to be something that you couldn't find at the grocery store, or that you couldn't just, go to the drugstore and pick up a card. It has to be something that people would buy specifically for whatever niche that you want. So try to be specific, try to design the whole thing. You might have to go back and forth to make sure everything lines up. Make sure you think about making the inside light enough that people could write on it, or you could make it blank so that people could just write what they want. You could always still not put text, but put some sort of design in there as well, something nice and light, because again, you can use transparency on paper if you want to, so you could put just a really light transparency on the background as well. So you got a lot of options to go with this. I hope this answered the question of the person who was asking about the greeting cards. If you have any other questions about any other products or about anything else print on demand, please do, put it in the comment section below. I try to get back to it as quickly as I can. If you haven't hit like and subscribe yet, please do. It helps me out as a growing channel, and I want to keep growing. I'm looking to get, as many subscribers and as many views as possible right now. So again, if there's anything else you need to see or you want to see, go ahead, put it in the comment section below. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope to see you again next week. That's it for today's video. If you found this useful and would like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.